You know that feeling, right? You're on a huge project. You've got this perfect, detailed plan. And then suddenly, everything changes. And that beautiful plan, well, it just became a massive roadblock. Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful idea for dealing with all that chaos in our crazy, unpredictable world. It's called Agile.
So, to really get why Agile is such a game changer, we first have to understand the problem it was built to solve. And really, it all boils down to the cost of making a change.
I mean, think about the old school way of doing things. You spend months, maybe even years, building this massive, super detailed plan for the whole project. You try to lock in every single requirement from day one. But what happens when the market shifts? Or, when the customer realizes 6 months down the line that they actually need something totally different? Well, that's where everything starts to fall apart.
Okay, check out this graph. This steep black curve. This shows the classic trap of a traditional project. See, early on, making a change is pretty cheap, no big deal. But as you get closer and closer to that finish line, a seemingly tiny tweak can set off a chain reaction of rework, literally blowing up the budget and the schedule. The cost just shoots up exponentially, and making a change late in the game can become catastrophically expensive. Okay, so if sticking rigidly to a plan is that dangerous, what's the alternative? Well, let's look at a completely different philosophy for building things, one that's designed to actually embrace change instead of running from it.
Agility is really all about being nimble, being able to pivot. Instead of thinking of your project as one giant long marathon, you start thinking of it as a series of short sprints. By building stuff in these small 1 to 4 week chunks, you're constantly creating these little checkpoints to adapt and make sure that what you're building is still what people actually need right now.
And this whole philosophy really boils down to a few simple but powerful ideas. First, and this is a big one, you welcome change. You actually see it as an opportunity, something that gives you a competitive edge. Second, the main goal is to get real, working software into the customer's hands and to do it fast and often. That's how you get feedback that actually matters. And third, you empower your people. Agile knows that awesome projects are built by skilled, collaborative people, not just by a rigid top-down process.
So this brings us right back to that scary cost of change curve we saw earlier. The entire point of an agile process is to flatten that curve. You want to squash it down. By working in these small cycles and getting constant feedback, change just becomes a normal, low-cost part of the process, even if it happens late in the project. So instead of this huge, risky spike in cost, it stays manageable from start to finish.
So you can really see the difference in mindset, right? On one hand, the conventional approach is all about that massive, upfront plan with requirements carved in stone where you barely talk to the customer until the big reveal at the very end. But the Agile approach, it's all about adaptive planning. It expects requirements to change and evolve, and it absolutely relies on constant collaboration with the customer to deliver value in small, frequent working pieces.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but what does this actually look like day to day? To figure that out, let's dive into one of the most popular and widely used Agile frameworks out there, Scrum.
Now, this diagram might look a little busy, but it's really just a simple repeating loop. Think of it as the engine that makes Scrum run. It all starts over here on the far left with something called the product backlog, which is just a fancy term for a big, prioritized to-do list of everything the customer wants. The team then grabs a small chunk of work from the top of that list to work on in a sprint. That's a short, fixed period of time, usually about 1 to 4 weeks. During that sprint, they have a quick meeting every single day to stay on the same page. And then at the end, they show off new working software before starting the whole cycle all over again.
So let's just break that loop down real quick. First, the customer prioritizes. This makes sure the team is always working on the most valuable stuff first. Second, the team commits to a chunk of that work for a sprint. This short cycle gives them incredible focus. Third, they sync up every day to keep things moving smoothly. And finally, they demonstrate a working piece of the product. This isn't a status report, it's real, tangible progress that gets real feedback. And that daily sync meeting, it's like the heartbeat of the sprint. It's a super fast, 15-minute meeting where everyone on the team answers 3 simple questions. Now, this isn't a status report for a manager, it's a commitment the team makes to each other. And honestly, that second question, do you have any obstacles, is the most important one. It brings problems to the surface immediately so the team can swarm on them and solve them before they totally derail the sprint.
But here's the thing. Frameworks like Scrum are just the mechanics. They're the tools. True agility is really a cultural shift. It's a different way of thinking that's guided by a core set of principles. The Agile Manifesto kind of lays out these core values. Let's just look at 3 huge ones. First, your number one job, your highest priority,
is to make the customer happy by delivering valuable software early and often. Second, and this is the really radical part, you welcome changing requirements. You actually use change to give your customer a competitive advantage. And third, the only thing that truly measures progress is working software, not a spreadsheet that says you're 75% done.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of Agile, which is trust. It's the core belief that the people who are closest to the work are the ones best equipped to make decisions about it. A self-organizing team is given the freedom and autonomy it needs to figure out the best way to get the job done, period.
So when you put it all together, you can really see the fundamental shift. Look, Agile isn't about having no plan. It's about moving away from blindly following a plan that's probably out of date the minute you print it. Instead, it's about having a shared vision that acts as your North Star, and then adapting, collaborating, and learning every single day to bring that vision to life in the best way possible. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world that is defined by constant, unpredictable change, maybe the biggest risk we can possibly take isn't deviating from the plan, but sticking to it no matter what.